Simons de Paulis. This one.
Astro Arts.
Okay. So the last talk of this special session on planetary exploration through arts is by Daniele De Paulis and Mike Simons on the Astronomers Without Borders Astro Arts program. It's given by Dr. Mike Simons.
So I'm Mike Simmons. I'm going to try my best to do this in place of Daniele De Paulis, who could not be here. I'm not an artist. I started Astronomers Without Borders, which provides a platform for the Astro Arts program that we have within it. But this is a work of Daniele, really, and I will show you some of the things that we have from the standpoint of someone who is trying to connect people around the world. There are a few things that are essentially universal, astronomy being one, the arts being another. And so from my perspective, that's what's important. Now, there are a number of aspects to the Astro Arts program. Now, let me say, first of all, that Danielle is an artist. She is based in the Netherlands. She's from Italy. And she began doing some artworks within Astronomers Without Borders. And I'll explain some of what she does as well. This is then expanded, and it's become what seems to be, in the Astro Arts community, a very important program. It certainly is for us. And it brings a new dimension to the aspect of astronomy. So from my standpoint as someone who connects amateur astronomers around the world, it's been really very interesting for me to see that there are so many who are involved in art. But it is not just the artists who do space and astronomy type work. There are many astronomers, both professional and amateur, who also are artists. So this works both ways, and there's a good connection between them. So within the Astro Arts program, it has evolved into really more than what is shown here, but these are some aspects. Every month we have an Astro Artist of the Month. Some are very well known, some less so. Always very interesting, different types of work. Within it is artwork and sometimes films, which may be documentaries such as Spiral Galaxy. Well, no, a little more than documentary, and some are a little bit more innovative, and I can't speak to those. Now, Astro Music, this is particularly, I'll mention one of those in particular, a combination of music with astronomy-inspired art and astronomy itself, which is, I wish I could show some of that here, but I'll show you where you can find that. Astro Poetry was really one of the first things that we had. This surprised me from the standpoint of somebody doing science and outreach, the fact that there were so many people who would be interested in writing poetry about the skies. I knew of Carl Sandburg and a few other famous ones. And then the resources has really evolved into Astro Crafts. So let me show you. Now, this was our first Astro Artist of the Month, Fiorella Terenzi. She is, though she may not have appeared here, she's a professional astrophysicist, also a composer. This is not the type of profile picture that we're used to seeing. If you go to the other talks in EPSC, this is not how they will be presented. And so she did some very innovative things. And in fact, also shown here is the CD that she developed based on radio signals from distant galaxies. In this case, one particular galaxy. Now, she's converted those signals from radio to the audio, to audio waves so that we can hear them within the spectrum that we can hear, and makes a connection between astronomy and what we consider art, seeing things in a different way. But there are many others, and some work in more traditional types of forms. Now, this is David Hardy, who has been doing a great deal of work for a long time. This is clearly, for those who know the older space artists like Chesley Bonstell, very much inspired by him. And in fact, this comes from 1956, before we ever got to the moon, and we thought, well, there's no atmosphere on the moon, so all the mountains will be jagged and so on. And other early works imagining how other planets would look, in this case, Mars. There isn't as much greenery there as we first thought there would be. This was 60 years ago. But this is before we ever got a close look and knew that the canals really weren't there. But this is how we saw it in our mind's eye, similar to the canals, which were sketched and drawn, and I knew people who said, yeah, I know they're not there, but I see them. And this is the way we perceive it. So to me, that's a sense of artwork in a way. We see things in a particular way that doesn't have to do with the facts. Now, David Hardy is very active in the International Association of Astronomical Artists, IAAA, which maybe some of you know here. And there have been quite a few that have collaborated in this from that organization, and that's been a very important partnership because it's brought the artists more in with astronomers who have never been exposed to much of this type of work, and I suppose the other way around. So that's an important collaboration. More recently, we have Ron Saunders, who is the Astro Artist of the Month for I think in February of this year. Now, Ron works in an interesting medium. These paintings that he does are made by acrylic paint, but he uses liquid nitrogen to flash freeze these. So he drops the